Okay, this is to the Suitland Civic Association recommendation. This is a proposal, video proposal. It's going to be quite lengthy, so get prepared for it. What you see on this first slide is a proposal for using it for, I hope, for the membership gathering or increasing the membership in the Suitland metropolitan area, or in the Suitland communities, I should say, within the metropolitan area. I did want to say that. This is going to be somewhat lengthy. I'm going to put this out once again. There's a law that we all have to live by because God inflicted this law from the beginning of time. I don't want to get involved in the law, but it says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. You need to really think about that because it's a law that will not change. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. In this presentation, there's 6 slides I want you to pay attention to, and that was going to represent the first. And this presentation, hopefully, once you consider what we're being that's being presented, you will see that it will be the last. The first shall be the last, and the last shall be first. We can't do anything about that. I won't get into involved with that. But if you care to know more about it, I can show you biblically in the Bible how we all have to adhere to that law. At the top of this slide, before I go on, you're gonna see it at the end also is our phone number for the Civic Association. As a trustee of the association, I really would like to see it quadruple the size within on a monthly basis for the next 12 months, so that many of the persons in the Suitland area will have an input into their community that they live in, and we can take that I out of team. We use the I a whole lot in this process, and I really want to emphasize that we also have to adhere to the laws that we represent in this association and in the nation as a whole, and not to treat it like the current administration treats our country. I won't get involved in that, but this presentation, as I said earlier, is earmarked and designed specifically for the Suitland Civic Association, not just necessarily a few people, but the entire association. The body hopefully will get this first, and then the executive board hopefully will then use what the body is recommending that we use for administering what's been presented. This is the article incorporations when the association was incorporated, and you can see on the screen it was in November the 17th of 1950. And you can keep this and go to the state of Maryland, to the Secretary of the State, any person within the association, in the body. Hopefully all the members of the body will get this, and then they can see what we're talking about, because there are some things that's being floated around now as to actions that were supposedly for have to taken place in our executive meeting that's just not true. We've asked many times to have the minutes of the executive committee as well as the body electronically transmitted, just like we do in a court of law. And I gave that law last meeting with the body we had, but I don't know what happened to it, but no one has responded to it. But the minutes should be presented 2 or 3 days in advance and not rushed into a meeting that's already undergoing and forced down persons' throat to vote on the minutes that no one actually know what's in it within an hour after before the meeting, because the minutes are usually prepared in the same day and it should be done prior to according to the law. This articles incorporation is in well, poor state, but according to the state secretary, we can get better copies once they go through the process of enhancing it as I've done this. This is an enhancement of what I was given by one of the trustees. And this, by the way, this is the majority of the trustees that's making this presentation. And I'm also hopefully that all the others will see. But again, on November the 14th in 1950, you can see that this was actually signed and also notarized. So make sure that you see what we're talking about, because the bylaws that we're using are not going to work according to the article. It does what it is. The bylaws don't circumvent the articles of incorporation, and we have to adhere to the law that's being laid down, whether we understand it or not. But we can always make amendments, and those amendments will have to be then notarized and also archived in a manner that they be kept by the state. We're going to go on with this. Again, I'm just taking my time to go through this. Hopefully that you can see these articles corporations are in poor state, but they the articles do, prevent us from doing what we're about to do with regards to having someone to come in and try to sell the building. The body and all persons associated with that idea should recognize what the articles are saying about that process, and we may be in violation of the articles if we do not adhere to that, which is, well, anyway, well, I won't go there. But anyway, this is concluding of these articles of incorporation. We can see that it was notarized, and I want to show you that the date of the notary. When it was notarized, and you can get a copy of the articles, and one of the trustees of, and as well as myself, are going to go over them with you to show you how and why it is imperative that we accept and follow the procedures of the articles of incorporation without having to have a monetarily burden upon the association. And I hope that all members of the body be given an opportunity to get this presentation before we do anything. This is only a proposal, but I hope that everybody can associated with the Suitland Civic Association, the executive board, as well as the body, can now get an opportunity to see and what was being presented in this presentation. Again, in conclusion of this, I thought that was the last page, but this is, maybe this page should have been before the other one, because this is the second and the third part of the articles that's telling us about what the association is really all about. It is a 501c3, as you saw back up in one of the articles, and as a 501c3, the law that we gave in the last proposal did show us why and how we have to maintain certain records in order to get what we are trying to get. And what I'm going to do now is go into the presentation to show you what we can have, really what we already have. God told Moses in the 40th chapter in the 14th verse, when God confessed, the only place in the Bible there is a confession of God, he confessed to Job that our right hand can save us if we bury that pride. And all human beings, including yours truly, have that form of pride, and pride prevent us from doing a whole lot of things that we can do. We know we don't know, but pride won't let us say that we don't know what we don't know. And what we don't know in this process here is what we have in our right hand already, which is what we're now going to try to get you to see that we have, and all we have to do is exercise what we have in our right hand. Okay, this is the end of the articles of incorporation in this presentation, but you're going to get a better copy, and hopefully have a paper copy available for all those who wish to have a copy, executive board members as well as the body of the Civic Student Association. In the Prince George's County have a grant program, and I don't know if you know that. I hope that you do. But Prince George's County having a grant program, and it tell us, and later on we're going to see, for 501c3, the limit is $300,000. We don't need $300,000 at the present time, but in the previous proposal I presented, I was asked to, as a trustee, to clean up the property that we have and get all of the fallen trees that were results of an act of God blown over, and there's a growth there that's in the other presentation that we need to clean up. We just really do need to clean up. It's a blight in the neighborhood, and our county executive is, I'm so proud of her to know that she's trying to get the blight out of the county as a whole, and having a grant program available for the Civic Association to use is what this proposal is doing. I'm not going to go into detail and let you see this, because I've given you the URL in the end of this to show you how you can go and get all these data for yourself to see how the Prince George's County does have a grant program, or do have a grant program for all those who are willing to use it. And this one is for those who are willing to have one in year 2020, which we have not gotten there because we're in the year 2019. But all these data from this point on in this presentation, with the exception of the last slide, is about the Prince George's County Grant Program. I'm not going to go into details about it because all you got to do is take your time, slow this slide down just by clicking on pause, and it will pause and you can read it for yourself, or you can go to the Prince George's County website under the grants and get all this information for yourself from the county. Grant resources and grant resources link is what we're talking about. On the right hand side, upper right here says grant resources. You're going to go to that hopefully and get the detailed information that I have here to get the link. So what we're now going on with this problem presentation now, as a civic association, the Suitland Civic Association have to provide these data that you see on the screen in order for us to get a grant. And yet the bottom down in the bold writing is giving us the indication of what the limitation is for the 501c3. Okay, and there are even more money available for grants, but we don't go in and click the more button. You can do that when you exercise just take a little ingenuity for yourself and visit, and you'll see the grant money that's available for us to do what we want to do to the property that we're now really head over heels trying to sell. Why we're trying to sell it, I don't know, but there I believe is a reason that's not being explained as to why we're trying to sell something that we have in our hand that's worth more than what we're going to get out of it when we sell it. And here's some monies that we can use to do whatever we want to do to the property with regards to maintaining the blight without having to pay it back, because the grant is, you don't have to pay the money back. As you, once we take the money out of the building and spend it for whatever it's going to be spent on, and I don't, hopefully now that's personal, but whatever it's going to be spent for, it won't be replaced unless we buy another building, which will take additional funds from some other source. Prince George's grant resource link is what you see here, and that's what you saw back at the top in the right hand corner I was talking about. These are the links so you can get all the data and information that you need with regards to the Suitland Civic Association obtaining a grant to do whatever we want to do. We don't have to go outside to get a grant, and I did provide a proposal showing all different kinds of grants that's produced by the federal government, but for some strange reason the executive board members won't let that information go to the body, and then no one has addressed the issue because of that eye. Now this is again, excuse me for clearing my throat, the information that we see. All these data are taken directly from the Prince George's County grant activities. And at the bottom, I put it in the blue so you can see at the council, the Prince George's County Council, the one that's behind it. And it previously showed you there were 2 council members that we had to go to in order to acquire what we need in order to do what we're trying to do with our property. Don't know when you're going to get an opportunity to review or exercise some kind of debate over the previous proposal that I submitted to the president and also to the executive board and the body with regard to getting the fallen trees and all the other blight out of the back of the property, and perhaps having something back there. If it's not a parking lot, it should be a playground for the neighborhood children. If we turn the building into a daycare, it would be, that's also something for the neighborhood, for all of the persons in the Suitland area then could utilize daycare or school, something of that nature for the children, other than to take the property money and put it into your pockets or someone else's pocket by donating the building to someone else. It's just a thought. So think outside of the box as opposed to thinking of ourselves at all times. Think of someone else. So God says it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. Every time you give something, you're blessed. The receiver gonna get something, but the one that's giving gets more than the receiver, according to God. Prince George's County, Maryland Office of Finance is where these data, where we're going to get all the information we need in order to get the grant that we are trying to get. And this is all this data that you see in these slides coming directly from the county. It's only a couple of slides I have, and I'm going to conclude this and let you go about your business. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time, but I believe that the time I'm taking is for the entire community of Suitland, Maryland, the entire association, as well as those outlets like Camp Springs, Temple Hills, Hanson Creek, and all the other parts of the plantations that we all live on here. This is a electronic process that he's telling you all we need to do is we follow the instructions and do this electronically. The grants monies will then be electronically let to the association and as need, and then we've already provided that need to the county and the requirements that I showed you previously, and all the funds that we're going to use in the acquiring the grant for the purpose of getting the blight out of the county is what the executive is talking about. And you can see that, and I've already given you her inaugural speech to show you, just in case you don't remember, what she was saying about getting the blight. And right now we're getting all the signs and all the other things that are on the posts and things out of the county, which is I appreciate our exec. I really do. Here is a final slide for the information with regards to the Prince George's County uh, grant program, or how it's authorized, electronically disbursement done. So all this is the data that you can already get when you go to the website. Now I'm going to conclude this now. I've underlined also the information as to how to get information about it up in the red. You see the little online red line, the email address, the fax number, and the phone number for everyone that want to get more information about this process before we go and do something that's going to make a huge mistake just by a few people with regards to not making the presentation to all of the people and let all of the people decide on what's going to happen, as opposed to the one or two people that's sending out all these emails and putting out falsehoods about things that took place at the executive board meeting that really didn't take place. Not when I was there, and I don't ever remember missing an executive board meeting. Now, in conclusion of this, hopefully that the membership committee will use something similar to this to gather information from the community for persons to become members of this Suitland Civic Association. There is a process to use, and I'm going to perhaps send out another presentation from the trustee or members of the Suitland Civic Association within the next 2 or 3 days. The trustees are going to send out another proposal to show you how to use the EDDM from the postal services to get information out to persons who are living in this community, and that's through the mail, and it won't be any cost to the association at all. So we're going to go through this process when the next proposal, and I'll make that proposal to show how we can use the United States Postal Services EDDM process in order to enlighten all of the persons that we wish to enlighten in the Suitland area that would like to become members of the association. My phone rang just in time. Thank you and have a good day.